Welcome to the Coaches Break Room. My name is Jessica Riverson, and my company is Permission to Charge. And we have Monica Pelayo from Spain, Madrid. I'm in Seattle, you guys, and she is our shadow work expert for high-level coaches. And this is the Break Room. We're really excited. Do you want to share today's topic, Monica?
Yeah, sure. I love this topic. I think I'm so passionate about this topic, and you and me have talked about it a little bit, and I get so into it. But we called it being positive when growing your six-figure business. You know, the shadow of being positive, we called it, because I find it so interesting how when we learn something, we get so passionate about it that we forget like the whole picture.
Mm-hmm. And all we hear is like, be positive, do your mantras. So I think it'd be cool if we take a quick poll and just have everyone that's on here live right now. Will you guys post and let us know if you guys do mantras, affirmations, like, do you focus on staying positive when you're growing your business? Because we know it's not easy. Like, not to mention coaching, but then like the marketing and, the sales calls and all the stuff that is required to grow a six-figure coaching business.
Right. Oh, hey, Peggy. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, like, what do you guys, what we call now mindset, right? Like, what's your mindset? Okay, so Brighton West, I try to be positive, but I don't do mantras, etc. So you're just constantly, looking at the bright side of it, or you kind of tell yourself certain things. And here, I'm like getting my tea.
Awesome.
Hey.
I was just about to say that, Brighton. I was like, your name, it's bright in your name, so...
Yeah, so you just kind of you try to see like the good stuff and whatever, and I think that's awesome too. So I just kind of want to be clear of this, because, I don't want people like, sending me like messages about what I'm saying. Oh, let's see what she's saying. I love setting positive intentions every Monday morning to kick off the week and keep them in mind as I'm completing tasks throughout the week. And then as I fall asleep every night following meditation, I repeat the intentions in my head. This week, clarity, focus, balance. Oh, cool. So it is more of an intention. Oh, this is Kelly. Yeah, this is Kelly. Yeah, that's so good. That's so good because, even, I remember Wayne Dyer for a while. He was really into that intention, the importance of intention and how sometimes we don't even know what happens, but when we go with an intention, right? And that's, I think, when you let kind of that larger energy or whatever you want to call it, kind of open opportunities for us. So the reason we wanted to talk about this was because sometimes, and it's, and more in our communities or in spiritual communities and all this stuff, instead of being something that is really positive, it goes to a very negative place. It sounds, I don't know if it sounds weird, but I'm not saying that being too positive is negative. I'm saying that sometimes we hide in the positivism to not look at something that is really painful within us. That we call it, or we don't call it, but it might show up as sabotage. Like, I'm doing the affirmations, I'm doing the mindset, I'm putting great intention, I'm doing all this, and I'm not getting to the goal that I want to get, let's say. And then if it doesn't work, you go like way down to this like really bad hole, and do nothing about it, or start being positive and saying affirmation, trying to get out of it, but keeping that part that needed to be worked on. Does that make sense? Am I explaining it well?
Yeah.
Do you have like any examples, Jess, that you might think that we can talk about? like in your business with your clients?
Well, yes. And also I really liked what you said about hiding behind the positivism, if I can say that word.
I don't know if that's a word. I don't know.
I think it's a word. It's totally a word. Yeah, I actually can think of an example of that. And then I meant to tell you, I actually dug up some research about this. So I'll bring that up in a little while, but there's a book called Rethinking Positive Thinking. So it's like statistics and like scientific research about the downside of positive thinking. So we'll get into that too. But the whole hiding behind positivism thing, like actually this kind of came up on one of our calls, one of our break room calls, where we were talking about manifesting money, like manifesting money or manifesting stuff into your life versus actually like creating and manifesting money through your business. And so I think it relates to that because it's kind of like there's people that you talk to or people that you know, and they're always positive. Like they're always just like, like they want to speak positive things into reality, which I believe there's a lot of power in that, but there seems to be there's sometimes a way where you can be so far deep into that you're like not in reality, like, yes, we should be positive. Hey, Bianca, we should be positive, right? But if you completely deny like reality, how you actually feel, what's really going on in your coaching business or your, service-based business, like I think you can get you can just get so far out of reality that you just like at a certain point, positive thinking alone, like, I don't think it's enough. I'm just saying, like, I mean, I've had success in my business when I was like having a really hard time and I was like negative, but I was doing the right activities. I'm not saying to build your business from that place. I think ideally you are positive and you're taking like strategic action. But I think that no matter, even if you're thinking negatively, like it doesn't mean that, cause and effect, right? Like you might be thinking like, oh my God, I'm the worst salesperson in the world. But if you have 10 sales calls, you're probably going to enroll one person, even if you had a negative mindset about it. So it's not to say I think anyone should like have a negative mindset or not try to be positive. But like if all you're doing is just being positive and trying to like positive think things into happening, I think that it can be this total out of reality thing. And I've known people that they're just so positive. And I'm like, do you have any problems? Like, are you real? I just think that it can make us unrelatable too. And Brighton said, I always talk positively about my business, no matter how bad things are going, but I don't believe my own BS. Yeah, see, I think that's an important distinction. It's like, speak positively, but don't delude yourself about like the reality, So I think that's great.
I think for me, and I guess, being a shadow coach and lately I've been doing a few sessions with a few business coaches. And one of the things that we talk about, and let me just explain a little bit if you haven't heard
about shadow coaching, because some people don't know.
Yeah, so it's I help people integrate aspects of themselves that they deny or hate or they don't even know they have. And that usually happens when we're younger, when they tell us, if you did this, you're going to be really good. If you did this, you're a really bad person. Or you hear like, oh, that person is really bad because, he has all this money and he's doing all the whatever you heard when you were younger, right? And you made a decision when you were younger that you're like, oh, I don't want to be that, right? And it could be anything, like I will never be that. Or something happened to you, someone did something really bad to you and you're like, oh, I'm not that. And you will spend your whole life not being that. But here's the thing, as humans, we have everything a human being has. So it's not like we can put it away, or what we could do is integrate it to become a healthier part of you. For example, a lot of people, and my mentor, she kind of went through the same thing, which is, and my coach Debbie Ford, she used to talk about this too. But like, I had that thing where I didn't want to be called a bitch. I didn't want to be a bitch, so I attracted a lot of bitches in my life. Yeah. And but I was not going to be a bitch, so I became a doormat. I said yes to everybody. I did this, and like, my life did not exist. My life was, helping others, and and until I got really sick about a year, I don't know, about 15 years or whatever. I got really sick. I was just really sick. Nobody knew what I had. And I'm not going to get really into it until I was able to integrate that part of me, that bitch part of me, the one that I thought it was a bitch, right? The one that said, no, I'm not going to do this, or the one that's going to say no with grace and tell a friend, you know what, I can't go with you today because I really need some rest. And I had to change I'm sorry, I'm going to make it up to you, instead of lying and saying like, oh, I can do it because this happened and this happened, because that made my life so stressful, just so they wouldn't know I was a bitch. Here's the good news. The good news is that when you discover you have that, you can integrate it and make it a healthy part of you. And the bad news is that you didn't want to accept you have it, but we all noticed it. Like, I'm not a bitch, but like, everybody was like, oh God, Monica's so super, she can totally be a bitch. Like, then you find out that everybody knew it before you did. So anyway, so coming back to what we're talking about, the positive, the positivism going to the negative side, like really taking you to the opposite side. If you're not being conscious, what you said, just sometimes they go to a point where it seems just so unrealistic, like so out of, it just seems so not true. And what I noticed lately is that when people come really open, because that's the first thing I tell them in a session, I'm like, just try not to be a coach in this moment, not to analyze, not to process, because we've heard so many things, we've read so many things, we've done so many courses to be in that place of being positive, right? So when you get here in the session, you're like, what? I'm just going to talk, the negative part of it. And I just kind of give them permission to do that just for like the next 90 minutes, right? And so they'll say like, well, I don't know, because, things are great, and I can see and I can see why this is happening. And, kind of that's the hard part of being a shadow coach, to kind of work with people that are so positive. But I love it because it works. Being positive works. Having a good mindset works. Putting your intention works. All those things work so amazingly.
But they don't work if you don't if you're at your core, if you don't believe that. You know what I mean?
Because if you're hiding something, dark. If you're hiding your shadow, all these positive things will work, but you will sabotage it somehow. Not intentionally, but that shadow part that you're not listening to, it will sabotage you. And you're like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm like, and then you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I not putting myself out there? Why, if I know I have to follow these things my business coach told me, I'm not doing it, and I come with some silly excuse, or I do something else that is not as important, or whatever it is, right? Or even in your relationship, you have this moment to be in your relationship, you're like, oh, I want to do this, you turn around and do something else. And you don't understand why are you, and have you been in that place like, why the hell do I do this to myself, right? I mean, we've all been.
Yeah, and then you try to pile more positive thinking on top. You're like,
you get busier.
More meditation, like more mindset stuff. And like, I think that's really, really important. But the reason like I've worked with you is that you have to uncover the stuff that you're trying to pile all this positive thinking on. And if it's something around being a bitch, or you just want to be accepted or something like that, when you start to when you start to own that there's a part of yourself that, I'm trying to think of a really good example. Let's say, well, Bianca mentioned relating to being a bitch or afraid to charge your worth, right? That's what I always talk about. And Bianca's in my group. So Joe said he's feeling this topic big time. Good. I'm so glad you're here. So, let's say okay. I'm just gonna like be really honest. Okay. I'm sure you guys all like, that's what you're here for. You want to hear the truth, right? So the past couple days, like I don't know when it started. It kind of was like, I don't know what day it was, but I was having a pity party. I'm like, I suck. I'm not good at what I do. Like, and people that know me are probably like, what? But I was like, I suck. I'm not good at what I do. I'm horrible. Like, I'm just the worst person. And I had this whole pity party, and I like really felt that way. Like, this is how I felt in that moment for like a good 2 hours. And I was just like, I'm the worst coach. I'm the worst this. I'm just like, I'm really bad. And then then the next day I was like, thinking about it, I'm like, okay, so what are all the things I'm telling myself? I'm like, well, I'm lazy. First of all, I know I'm not lazy, but these are the thoughts, right? It was like, I'm lazy. I don't do enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not bringing enough value. I just suck, And so then I just started going like, all right, well, I suck. I'm lazy. I'm not good enough. And I just started like owning the part of myself that felt that way. Instead of denying it or trying to like positive think myself, I just started admitting the ways that might be true. Like and it wasn't to bash myself or to like, I actually felt better because I started owning those thoughts about myself. And then I started seeing how those things that I thought about myself, the kind of the lack of self-acceptance, which has been my main thing, and self-love, I was like, wow, those things often drive me to be better, which is a good thing. And now I have the opportunity to actually look at them and like kind of shine a light. So I would love to hear your opinion on that piece, because I got something really positive, but now I want to take it like further.
So let's put that example, and then I'll tell you back what I got from my clients a few days ago. But for example, that whole lazy thing, it's like, I'm not going to be lazy, and when you don't accept that in yourself, you start seeing it in other people. You're like, oh, I hate lazy people, right? And
I can point them out and be like, you're lazy.
Lazy, whatever, and like it will trigger you, right? Because you just like hate it in yourself and you hate it in others, and God forbid you're going to find yourself in lazy town. And it's funny coming from you, because sometimes when I'm in a weird place and I'm like thinking, God, but do I have to work as much as Jessica Riverson does to have a 7-figure business? I'm like, I don't know. I think I'll stay on I will focus on a 6, or because for me, it's just like, I feel you do just a lot, right? But who knows? I'm not in behind the scenes, but you do work a lot, and you're a little bit of a workaholic. That's kind of my judgment and perception or whatever, right? But that's why you have what you have, right? And you've helped people make thousands and make money. You've helped me, right? In what you do. But my point is that was a real shadow of yours. And so usually like we would have a session and whatever, and like you don't have to anymore because you know kind of how it works. And so your shadow was being lazy, right? And so you go like, fine, I'm lazy. Like, what does lazy do for me? Well, if you didn't have that lazy, that for you've judged it as a wrong thing, but lazy is really taking your time and like rest and screw everything else, right? So lazy has brought you to self-love, to self-care, to just think about you, to make it power. And that, when you own that and you thank that part of you, I mean, there's ways to do it, but this is kind of like the shortcut. That aspect of you is what is going to drive your business to a stronger and more vulnerable and more truthful integrity way of driving your business.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, the more I just kind of owned some of those, all the negative thoughts I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, maybe let's just say those things are true, and the more I did that, the less it was like this heavy burden, it was more like, oh, okay, there's parts of me, some of them are positive, some of them are negative, right? And just owning all parts of yourself.
Right, and it's just, and at the end, okay, so here's the, what do you call that? There's a word for it, but here's that word that I was saying. I have to think about oxymoron is when you say the same thing, or, well, here's the thing. At the end, that shadow, putting a light on it, becomes one of the biggest, most positive qualities in our life and in our business when you shine a light on it. When we can't see our shadows is because we're in the dark. But usually our shadows come when we're in a place of light, but we confuse it because you're like, no, I'm in a positive way. I'm great. I'm not even going to look at that. I'm going to stay focused in the light. And
I'm going to do positive thinking. I'm going to do mantras. I'm going to do affirmations. I'm not even going to acknowledge my negative feelings.
And we miss out in something that life has to show us that is going to bring even more light into what we do.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, being positive, and when we talk about being too positive, because it's not being too positive, it's just being positive, hiding our pain or hiding our fears is when it's not working. And that happens in our business and more, like having, and that's why we talked about the 6-figure business, because that's what, those are the people that you work with. And so having a 6-figure business, it took you to being positive mindset and whatever has taken you to that place. How can you keep it? How can you make it better? How can you, break that glass ceiling? Because we kind of all hit that glass ceiling, right? And how could you do that? Looking at the shadow, accepting that there's a shadow and stop fighting it. Because
stop fighting the parts of yourself that we think, oh, I have a block. And it's like, you're not going to put enough positive thoughts on top of a real block. Bianca said delusional optimism, which I think is a great description.
Yeah, because, when we talk about our business, we focus on the great things about it. We can't be like in that negative place of talking like, yeah, my business. We talk because it's what makes us happy and our passion, and it's okay if we talk about it. We're not saying to go out and telling everybody's like, today, whatever. But we all go, and that's why I think it's so important, this conversation to have, and more us, because, we should be talking about our business and ourselves, that it's all wonderful and whatever, but it's not. And when it's not, it's when we're grown even more and we brought so many qualities. And sometimes, being women and working with our femininity, right now there's this huge wave of not only masculine, bringing the masculine in our business, but masculine bringing our femininity in our business, and how to integrate that is one of our biggest goals, and having communities of sisterhood is one of our, biggest goals as well. However, we need to, being in feminine energy, we do need to speak the truth. We need to speak when we're going through a really hard time. And I think, 2 days ago, I was feeling But physically, I wasn't feeling good. I don't know what was happening. And a lot of people are going through this. You know, our world is not going through a really good phase at this point, right? There's a lot of terrorism. There's a lot of fear going on. There's a lot of things going on. And if you look around in our community, there's a lot of empaths. There's a lot of very intuitive people. There are a lot of women that are really, you know, going through that energy and having a lot of anxiety, a lot of, you know, it's absolutely something that is happening and we cannot deny. And I think that's why we're there for each other. And like 2 days ago, man, I was feeling really, really sick, like physically my stomach. I mean, I was just having a really hard time and I was like really sad. And I was like thinking, God, now that I'm, you know, helping all these women and I could, you know, I've been having all these sessions with women and I was like getting these amazing feedbacks and on how well they're doing, and I was just great, and suddenly I get sick. And I'm like thinking, what? You know, now that I'm doing like really good, now I'm gonna, you know, get sick and die, right? Or get sick and get crazy. And my dear friend Kelly, she's a coach as well, and I sent her a message. And I'm like, dude, I haven't been feeling good, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And she sends me this, and it's funny because, you know, between coaches, you know, it's kind of hard to talk about this stuff, right? Because it's like, well, aren't you a coach? Aren't you? You know, like, it's almost like we have to be perfect, you know.
Well, that's why we created the break room, right? Because, you know, it's not all roses all the time.
Right. And sometimes there's a part of us, you know, like the child that's still wounded. You know, the shadow is a wounded child that created the shadow. So I tell her, you know, and I send her my message and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to go to sleep, but I'll try to work through it. I think I'll get better, or at least I hope, I tell her. And this is what she answers, and I'm going to read it to you. She said, okay, well, as you fall asleep, I want you to picture that I'm right there with you, giving you a big, giant hug, protecting you and sending you love. And that I'm humming you to sleep, a long, deep, peaceful sleep. You will feel safe. And in the moment, I was like, I'm an adult lady, right? And then the second, I was like, oh, that feels good. That this woman that lives in Chicago, right, that loves me enough to put away that you're a shadow coach. You help people. Actually, you're going to coach me, you know, like next week or I don't know when. And she says that to me. And I was like, I felt the sense of, I got your back. I got your back. Like, who cares if it makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, if you should be feeling this, you should get better, you know, whatever. And it's hard to not be positive in this world that everybody has an opinion because they don't like when somebody doesn't feel good and they're like, well, you need to work it out and get over it.
It's like you need to work on your mindset. And I'm always saying, you know, you need to work on your mindset, but there comes a point when it's like, you know, you have to recognize what's underneath that. You know, if you've been trying to positive think yourself on the same thing over and over and you're stuck in growing your business or you're stuck in, you know, getting results with your clients, like, you know, at a certain point, we have to look at what's underneath that. Hey, we've got more people joining. Doug just joined us. Awesome. You guys follow Doug. And can we take a moment here, Monica, to just go over some of the research that I did?
Yeah, sure. And just for the people that just joined, we're talking about the shadow behind being positive and growing a six-figure business, and how positivism used to hide a pain or a shadow or a or something dark that you would call, like, instead of looking at that and you know, applying positivism can, instead of take you to a place that you want to go, it will feel like as if you were sabotaging yourself. So that's what we've been talking about in our experience, in our business. And I think I've answered your question, Naheem. So that was like what we were talking, and that's the topic.
Well, and it's like what you resist persists. So with the work that you do with shadow work, it's like, it's owning that part of yourself and exploring it. And like, it's okay like, if it's like, oh my God, I'm not successful, my business isn't growing. Like, okay, well, let's examine that part. Like, let's own that that's how you feel right now, and start to examine what is, like, you always talk about the gold behind the shadow. So that's really what we're talking about, you guys. And I did a little research that I'm going to bring up in just a second.
And true positivism, and true positive and true good mindset, like the truth one, the one that works, is the one that is able to see the shadow, because it brings the goal.
Right. Well, so once you've integrated those parts of yourself, it's a lot easier to be positive, and it's not just affirmation, it's true belief, right? So there's a difference between a true belief and an affirmation. If you've integrated those parts of yourself, then you can believe those positive things. If you're just trying to stick affirmations on top of a foundation that's really rocky, I mean, it helps. It definitely helps to stay positive, but you haven't actually cleared the blocks. Do you agree?
Yeah, and totally. And one of the things I'm honestly, your vulnerability and the way you talk in this show, I love it, because, you being a business coach and you be able to really open up and say these kinds of things really help other people, like, seriously, because I've seen in this community, like, so many business coaches that only talk. It's like, oh, no, we don't talk about this. Like, don't ask me negative questions, like, you're not asking the right question. And it's all about, like, just, you have to be positive. And that's really harming the market for upcoming business coaches, because they think that by now they should be making a certain amount of money, that by now they should be, like, super happy traveling all over the world, that all is positive, all is great and whatever. And they miss out on one of the greatest gifts in creating a business that they love. And that is owning who you are, owning what you're going through, finding a group of women or or supporters that is really helpful. Having spaces like this one where we can have conversations, but we're not going to be judged. To the contrary, we're going to support each other. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I love it.
I really honor you for that and for being
right back at you. So that's why we're buddies. Okay, you guys. So if you're just joining us, or if you're on this call, could you help us out by sharing this? So there's a little button where you can tweet this out. It says share the last 30 seconds. So please do go ahead and tweet this out. I think there's a lot more people that need to hear this message today. And follow me, follow Monica, follow some of the other people. Like, we've got Doug on here, Kelly's on here, Christine. Follow some of the other people that are on here. Sade, I hope I'm saying your name right. She just joined. So follow some of the other people in here, see what they've got going on their channels. You can give us props like Doug is doing. So there's these little yellow hands, and that gives us props. And then you can go ahead and tweet out the last 30 seconds. If you guys see that button over there, you can say, join us to talk about the shadow behind positive thinking. And you can just, tweet that and share it on Facebook. And so I would love for you guys to help us out and share that. And then I always want to talk about, this book, you guys. It's called Rethinking Positive Thinking: Inside the New Science of Motivation. And I don't know if you've seen this, Monica, but this is actually really, really interesting research. So there's this little section of this article I wanted to share with you guys. Okay, so they, the people that wrote this book, Gabriel Otten, I can't even pronounce his name actually, but his book is Rethinking Positive Thinking. So he says, an experimental study revealed that a group of women who were asked to imagine positive experiences of wearing high-heeled shoes. It's like so sexist. So they did this experimental study. They asked this group of women to imagine that they were wearing high heels. And they saw a drop in their systolic blood pressure, which measures energy and motivation. So it indicates a connection between fantasy and diminished momentum. So let me break it down. Basically, when you're imagining and you're dreaming of something, you're in a fantasy kind of state and your momentum is diminished. So this is totally flips the script on probably everything we've been taught about visioning, because I love visioning. I think it's really, really important. But this is a really interesting study. They did another study with 107.
What does it mean? I didn't get it. I'm a slow learner. What is
basically, when you are imagining something that you desire, your systolic blood pressure goes down, and that's a measure of energy and motivation. So they're basically saying that fantasy equals diminished momentum or motivation. So they're saying it doesn't make you more motivated to just keep thinking positive stuff because you're in a fantasy land.
But it's saying it relaxes you.
It relaxes you. Yeah, it doesn't like make you want to go do that thing. So they have another study with 117 college students. They asked them to write down what they wanted to achieve in school and to what extent they believed it was possible. And so, like, what do you want to achieve in school? How possible do you believe this really is? And what he found was the more the students envisioned performing well on exams, the less they achieved and the less they studied. So again, this is very contrary to I think everything we've learned as coaches as far as positive thinking. But this is the theory that this guy, his name is Gabriel Oettingen. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Gabriel Oettingen. So, Gabrielle, it's a woman. Yes. Okay, so it's a woman actually, Gabrielle. She developed her own theory, and her theory is, instead of just thinking positively, we should employ the self-regulation strategy of mental contrasting. Okay, so mental contrasting is weighing your envisioned goal against what you identify as your inner obstacle to be. So this method clarifies what you really want, what's feasible, instead of goals that you'd rather let go or you're unlikely to accomplish. So she said, a woman who wished to exercise more overcame her laziness by concentrating on the obstacle, which is a perceived hatred of going to the gym. By reminding herself that exercise was not a chore, but something she wanted to do, she found the activity to be more desirable and less oppressive. So basically she's saying the thing that you think stands in your way of getting to your goal, she says to focus on seeing yourself overcoming that thing instead of the actual goal itself, which I think is kind of interesting because
and I think that is where, yeah, and I think I think the first one that you talked about it, I don't know, because I do the visioning, and that's why we have visioning board, vision boards and whatever, because at a certain point, I think your mind does kind of grab that information, and you kind of, make it as a goal, something that you see it and whatever. So I don't know how much I am into, I'm really into, listening, but I don't believe everything as I used to when I was younger. But that the second one, that is so true, because you know what? I always wanted to work out. Everybody that talked about health, it was like, you need to work out, and it's just like, I just hated it. I hated it, and I thought, well, okay, I'm going to work out, but I didn't want to work out as much as I wanted to love working out, loving to want to go. So
that's the positive thinking. Like what she's saying is like positive thinking is pleasurable, and people want to believe that that pleasure is creating positive results. But, pleasure, imagining pleasure isn't as motivating as looking at like the reality of the fact that like, okay, I don't want to be this way anymore. So now what is standing in my way from getting there? Let me focus on how I can be more effective in, like, if it's losing weight, then like, how can I love exercising? Like how can
I love eating well? And I think that's where we have to focus. I think like if we're going to be positive, it's just like, I'm positive that I'm going to work out and I'm going to run the marathon versus I'm going to find a way to love working out. I'm going to find, and that's another, I think way of doing a mantra or meditation or whatever. But in order to do that, you need to accept that there's something keeping you from that which you want. And that's the part that's going to give you the gift that I call the shadow, right?
Yeah.
You can't just dump the poop, right? It's just like, you just can't, it's in your body. You're going to have to do it, right? But I want to find the good part of having to do that or whatever. And that's why I think that it's in our business, and more if you're already gotten to your goal of a 6-figure business or 7-figure business, don't put on the side the shadow work or your negative or whatever it is that you're working on, because through that, what you call negative or you hate or whatever, you will find that that's what you needed. When you look at the shadow and it becomes a light, you will realize that that's what you needed. Like you just recently knew, and you've always known this, but that you do need your lazy time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just posted the article for you guys to look at, but Joe Berenstein, he said, positivity and affirmations only really work to reinforce something that's already true. They don't tend to work for most people when we're trying to use them to change things that aren't true. So I would love to open up. Can we open up a spot for someone? Maybe Joe wants to come in because he has a really good perspective. Sure. We have like 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure we open up a couple spots.
Joy, Joe, do you want to call in?
Yeah, I would love for Joe or Brighton or Kelly. So people that I'm familiar with will be great.
Hey, welcome. How's it going?
Hey, Joe, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting. I get this a lot. A lot of people talk about, positive thinking works for me, affirmations work for me. But I speak to a whole segment of people who are like, no matter what I try, it doesn't work. And the one common thread I found is that when people are trying to create something with an affirmation or positive thinking that doesn't have a shred of truth in their life, subconscious just knows it's a bunch of BS. But say when you take something and you want to reinforce it, like, so for example, you do get some joy from exercising, and then you affirm that over and over, and you affirm it and you use affirmations and positivity while you're exercising, it might help you enjoy it more. It might help you try more exercises and do new things or be more consistent, but it's not going to get that person off the couch who already doesn't experience pleasure from doing that thing. So that's kind of, a challenge with positivity.
Yeah. And I think that article is interesting because it's like, you could like keep imagining yourself like on the beach in a bikini or something, like, or whatever, you're really fit. And then what Gabrielle in the book is saying is like, that actually makes us, that dream state makes us relax, kind of lethargic. It doesn't make us like want to like, let me go work out right now. So it's kind of interesting. Like I see the value in visioning, but if you don't believe it, like you said, and you're not pairing it with action, like, okay, well, what's the difference between your dream body and where you are now? There's something that's in between that, And if we're just focusing on the end goal, while it's really fun to imagine that, what's going to actually get us to the place we want to be is action.
Right. And I think finding what's really keeping you from that. Let's say we're going to lose weight, right? Like, okay, so we're going to lose, and it's just like, I am skinny. I am skinny. So your brain is going to go like, you are crazy, right? Because, the brain is smarter, right? It's like, you are not seeing things right, whatever. So I think, and that's where I go back into like looking into what's keeping you from that. And it's like, well, what kind of person, is thin? Well, the person that takes care of themselves. Well, what person? And then, let's say you come up with a person that loves themselves. And then the affirmation could be, I will find a way to love myself. I will find a way to love who I am. And then that sounds more like true, but not only that, that sounds more loving. That sounds more real. That sounds like you really want to take action. That would be an awesome, and that the mind and the heart, and it all kind of gets together. But first you need to get to the place where I fucking hate myself the way I am, and accept that you look at the mirror and you're like, I fucking hate it, right? And in order for us, so like positivism works and mindset works and all of it works. And I mean, would you say, Joe, that, and this is what we said at the beginning, that when you use positivism to hide something you don't want to look at, it becomes sabotage?
Absolutely. Yeah. Bearing it deeper into shadow. You have less access to changing that part of you because you're hiding from it. So, Right. This is an interesting topic for me because I do a lot of work with a men's group that's very shadow work based. And a lot of my clients come from that men's group. And so I spend a lot of time with people who already are in the shadow work mindset. So there's that part of it. And so I'm actually doing a lot of work to dig them out of shadow work mindset. Yeah, you touch your shadow so much. Let's get the heck away from it, right? Let's get the heck into the light, into the shining, because you get stuck in those stories. But then I have other people who have never gone there, and you tend to have to go there with them. You have to have them touch that reality of what's painful for them and what they're trying to hide from others. Because no matter what we do, if they can't come to grips with what they're unconsciously trying to hide, that's what's creating the barrier for them from what they want.
And I don't know if you came in just recently, I'm a shadow work coach. And I think that's why I kind of bring it so much. And I should call it something else because people think like, oh, but really the shadow is the uncomfortable part. Here's what I'm putting it. It's the gold that wants to be seen, and it looks like a shadow, and it makes you really uncomfortable until you look at it. And it will stay there, and it will take over until you don't look at it. And but if you look at it, it'll stop being a shadow. You don't change it, you don't transform it, you just look at it as what it is. And unfortunately, as humans, we need to be, it can't come to you and go like, honey, listen to me. Because you'll be like, what? It has to kind of like go like this and fight with you and do all this stuff and make you feel so uncomfortable until you go on your knees and you're like, dear God, what's going on? And in that moment, you're like, I accept this about me, or this is going through. And that gives us the opportunity to break free or break through, or however you want to call it. But I love that you're here and you kind of, showed us another way to look at it, and how it's not only, the people that are frustrated with the whole positivism that is just talking, because I think positivism works, and mindset is and for our business, mindset is kind of like the 80%. Like, I truly believe that, for me, like 80% of it has to be mindset, that I'm in a good mindset. But when things are not working, I have to look at what's keeping me between this and this. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So do you guys feel like that about in your business?
Yeah. I mean, mindset's number one, but I think this is a great call because we're basically talking about the fact that like, I mean, I feel like I work really hard on my mindset. And, you know, what we're talking about today is if you actually do proper integration and you do the real deep work, it becomes easier to have a positive mindset because you're dealing with like the beliefs in your deep structure instead of just trying to be like positive, like you're piling positive stuff on top of a really faulty belief down here that's just like doesn't even make sense. So I don't know. I think this has been a really, like for me, it's just been a really good reminder of even more than positive mindset, like doing personal development work, you know, like digging into the stuff that's uncomfortable and like kind of resolving that within yourself, owning those parts of yourself. Then all the mindset stuff that we do is going to be easier. You know, it won't be like, instead of needing 5 hours of meditation, maybe you only need like 1 hour or something, you know?
And it will move you to action. It will move you to action. The positive thinking that doesn't move you to action is the one that we're using to cover something, right? And Barbara says, can you read it? I can't see it from here.
She said it's about looking at your beliefs, values, and most importantly, your strengths.
Oh, because you didn't read. Mindset is so important, able to reframe your thinking.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's like what everyone talks about. And I mean, I'm in the same boat. It's like mindset. But I mean, I think, again, like this is really big because look, what about all the people that are like, I do affirmations, I do this, and I believe that they are like seriously doing major mindset stuff and they're like putting in the hours and they're putting in the time and they're still not getting the results they want.
Right. We can only go so far, right? So if we limit ourselves on one end, we limit ourselves on another end. So if I can't access my fear and my sadness and my grief, I can't access that much of my joy and my positivity. So if I'm just focusing on the positive side of what's happening and I'm burying the other things behind me, there's not a lot of growth work that we can really do. We stay stuck in a small spectrum. So I've been there. You know, I've had some traumas in my life that have led me on the upward path, you know, where I'm really focused on my personal development and my improvement. And it gets to a point where all this stuff works and then it stops working. We come up to a point where we've gotten inauthentic rather than being authentic with who we really are because we're not letting ourselves really deeply connect with people because we're just putting spit shine on a bunch of shit. And at the end of the day, you gotta, you know, take a look at the shit and flush it and figure out what's going on with that and to get rid of it. But we can't just bury it with a bunch of positive words. And I think this is so important because so many people who've done any sort of personal development work, well, where's the first place we go? Positive psychology, affirmations, The Secret, Miracle Morning, all that stuff. And we have to recognize that that's only going to take us so far. In a way, to me, that's surface level personal development work. It's beautiful. It's amazing. We need it, but it's not going to get into deep places.
And also, don't you think also, I mean, we're having this conversation because it is a safe place to talk about it, right? But if you see out there and, you know, and when the people we follow that follow us and whatever, I constantly see posts about, you know, like really amazing people, but saying things like, don't let your friends, fill you with all their problems and their negativity because, you know, that will just do something and something. And I was like thinking, oh my God, I can't imagine going through life with the people that I absolutely love or with my clients or with you guys, whatever. I'm going like, can't talk to you because you're taking away my good energy. You know what I mean? Like, I feel that in a way, our communities, they seem so positive and spiritual and whatever, but it's gone so extreme that they forgot the compassion and love and just letting somebody feel whatever there is they're feeling and giving them the space. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about that person that comes to you and tells you, oh, my boyfriend, did this to me. And then the next day it's like, my boyfriend did this to me. And you already talked to her, right? And like, my boyfriend did this to me. And then you're like, dude, you really need to move on. And as coaches, we know when to do that. So we're not talking about that. Just to be clear with everybody, we're talking about being completely honest with ourselves and our business, with our clients, whoever's around us, that there is amazing gifts behind the shadow, and there is more positivism behind the shadow than what we can imagine. Because the shadow is just something that is calling for us to be conscious about that quality within us that we haven't accepted, that is really going to help us break through. And I know we have a couple of minutes before we close, so I want to thank you. We want to thank you, Joe, for being in this conversation, even though we're all about women and feminine, feminine energy, and we love to have people like you that support us and gives us so much, of your wisdom. And you've been amazing, and you really have brought us a lot of information that is just so nice and refreshing to hear. So you're a coach, right? You're what are you?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm all about women and feminine energy as well. So yeah. There. I'm a coach as well too, and I'm a new coach. So this is an important topic for me because I've experienced some quick success, and I'm feeling a little bit of a block recently, the last few weeks. And believe it or not, my way through this block is to access some sadness that I was not touching. And so that's some personal work for me right now, and it has direct connection to how I reach out to the world to share my message.
Right, just giving yourself permission. And from our part, you have a safe space with us here, and you have permission to charge here for Jessica. That's her branding, and permission to really to be who you are, because I think we need more people to be more authentic and more in integrity, and really free us from all this information that we should or we shouldn't do. So thank you for being here. We hope you join us next. It's not next week because we have it every other week, every other Monday. So we'll come up with a topic. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. And you're gonna love you follow Jessica. She specializes in new business coaches, and I'm a shadow for a coach here where you can come ask the questions and be happy to support you in any ways. Thank you so much for being here, and I can see why your success is going so well. I think it's going to get even better.
Yeah, I want to hear more from you next time, Joe, because I think I would love to hear more of your perspective on everything that's going on as far as like online marketing, because it's like, I mean, like I said, I'm part of it too. I post positive stuff, it's like positive, all this kind of stuff. But in reality, we're all behind the scenes growing our businesses, and like, technology stumps us, client relationships stump. I mean, there's all these things that are like get in our way, but online it's just like, it's like happy, so I think this is a good conversation. Maybe our next call can kind of be a segue of like, not necessarily like the same topic, but sort of like part 2, deeper level. Cause I really think this is a great topic. I really do. And I mean, everything that you said, Joe, was so profound and spot on. So I hope you come back, cause I want to hear more of what you have to say.
Awesome. I'd love to. Thank you both.
Yeah. So we got Barbara Rubel. She works with losses, misfortunes, disappointments. Okay, yeah, that's a really cool niche, actually. And then we've got Dreams. Oh, Gina Ross Coaching. I didn't realize that. Okay, I know Gina Ross. Awesome. You guys follow Gina, follow Barbara, follow Joe and Brighton.
Oh, hold on. Dream Ross Coach is Gina Ross?
That's Gina. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. So, do you want to post our group link? Do we have that?
Well, we're on Sonia. If you could put the link, we're on Facebook as the Break Room for Coaches. We're on Twitter again. Also,
just open that group, you guys. So,
the link is
that's totally men and women. So it's open.
This one's going to be the only open thing we have for men and women. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
because my group is pretty much, it's like all women. So finally, because I have like these men will knock on the door and I'm like, it's a women's group. But yes, join us over there, like Joe and Brighton and all the other guys that are on here. Let's like connect over there. And yeah, we'll be back on
so not this Monday, we'll be back next Monday. And you guys can come over, and we have 2 seats open, and we'll see, we'll put it there, and we can have these types of conversations. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being open to this conversation that, might kind of be a little interesting for some people. Some of them will be good, some not so good. But these are the conversations we have here in the break room. And you could, give us some feedback if you can, and if you have some topics that you guys want us to talk about, we will, and you could be our guest. So thank you so much for being here, Jessica. Thank you for being so awesome and so vulnerable and so real. And you are one of the most amazing business coaches I know. And I'm not kissing your ass because we're in a break room. But I know you talk the talk and walk the walk. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Barbara. Barbara, you can also join the Permission to Charge community. I know Bianca's in there, Christine's in there. Who else is new? Gina's in there. And I can't see all the people that were live though. So we'll be back, you guys. We'll be back on the 25th, and subscribe to this channel. If you haven't, you guys subscribe, and that way you will be notified of our next collab. Yeah. So thank you. Bye, Monica.
See you soon. Bye.